All right, today we're going to take a journey into the most incredible transport system ever designed. And guess what? It's flowing inside you right now. We're talking about blood, the literal river of life that keeps absolutely everything running.
And that's not some sci-fi question. You actually have one. It's your circulatory system. It's this non-stop, high-speed delivery and cleanup service that's operating on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. So in this explainer, we're diving deep into that incredible internal world. So let's kick things off with the big picture, the superhighway itself. Before we can really look at the traffic, we've got to understand the roads and the infrastructure that makes it all possible. So when you break it down, this system has three main players. First, you've got the heart. That's the powerful, relentless pump. Then you have the blood vessels, this massive network of channels and tunnels reaching every single corner of your body. And finally, you have the blood itself, the transport fluid we're really going to get into today.
Okay, so we've seen the highway system. Now let's pull over and take a much closer look at what's actually flowing through it. What in the world is in a single drop of blood?
At first glance, blood just looks like a simple red fluid, right? But it's actually made of two totally distinct parts. About 55% of it is a liquid called plasma. The other 45%? Well, that's made up of all the cells and cell fragments, the actual formed elements that do all the heavy lifting.
And you can literally see that 55-45 split in action. When you spin blood in a centrifuge, the heavier stuff, all those cells, sinks to the bottom. And that's what creates that distinct red layer. And what's left floating on top? That pale yellow liquid. That's the plasma.
So what is this plasma stuff? Well, it's mostly water. But don't let that fool you. That little bit that isn't water is jam-packed with everything from proteins for clotting and immunity to hormones, nutrients, and waste products. It's the liquid taxi that makes the whole transport system work.
Okay, let's get to the superstars of the show. The most famous, and definitely the most numerous residents of our river of life, the red blood cells. These are the tireless oxygen delivery specialists.
This right here is the workhorse of your blood, the red blood cell. Its unique shape, kind of like a flattened donut without a hole, is all about maximizing surface area. And that design is perfect for its one critical job, grabbing oxygen in the lungs and dropping it off everywhere else. Each one works its tail off for about 4 months before it's time to be recycled.
Now, let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale here. How many of these cells are we talking about? In a single, tiny drop of blood, we're talking an amount smaller than the head of a pin. An adult male has roughly, get this, 5.5 million of them. The sheer density of this cellular workforce is just staggering.
And that unique shape? It is absolutely critical for a smooth ride. In healthy blood, the cells just flow easily. But in a condition like sickle cell anemia, the cells deform into the stiff sickle shape. And as you can see, that causes them to jam up in the blood vessels, creating these painful and really dangerous blockages. It's an incredible example of how one tiny change in form can completely change function.
Okay, so we've got our delivery service covered. But what about security? What about defense? Let's meet the body's mobile security force, the white blood cells, and their support crew, the platelets.
These are the soldiers, the bodyguards, the sentinels of your system. White blood cells, also known as leukocytes, are your immune system's frontline defense, and they are actively hunting down and destroying invaders like bacteria and viruses.
And this army isn't just a big mob. It's organized. It's got divisions. The two main branches are the granulocytes, which have these grainy-looking bits inside them, and the agranulocytes, which don't. So let's meet a key player from each team.
First up, from the granulocytes, say hello to the neutrophil. Think of this cell as the ground troops, the infantry. It's the most common type of white blood cell, and it's the first one on the scene of an infection. Its main tactic? Phagocytosis, which is just a fancy way of saying it literally engulfs and devours any invaders.
Now from the agranulocytes, meet the lymphocyte. If neutrophils are the infantry, then lymphocytes, these guys are the special forces and the intelligence officers. They are the brains of the operation, creating what's called your adaptive immunity. That's the part of your system that learns and remembers specific enemies. This group includes B cells, which create targeted antibody weapons, and T cells, which coordinate the entire attack. So we have our delivery couriers and our army, but what happens when the highway itself gets damaged? You get a cut? That's where the emergency medics come in, the platelets. They aren't even full cells. They're just these tiny little fragments floating around. But the moment a blood vessel is breached, they spring into action, rushing to the site to form a plug and kickstart the whole clotting process. Without them, even a small paper cut could be a disaster.
So, we've met the couriers, the soldiers, and the medics. Let's bring them all back together for one final roll call of this absolutely incredible cellular workforce. So let's do one last roll call. You've got the red blood cell with that distinct disc shape perfect for hauling oxygen. You've got the tiny, irregular platelet fragments, absolutely essential for blood clotting. And then there's the immune army, like the multi-lobed neutrophil that just engulfs pathogens. Every single cell has a unique form that is perfectly suited for its vital job.
And you know, there's an entire field of science dedicated to studying this complex fluid and everything we've just been talking about. It's called hematology. It's just a reminder of how deep this river of life truly is. So, the next time you feel your pulse, just take a second and remember what's really happening. A vast, intricate, self-regulating river is flowing through you, carrying trillions of specialized workers on their vital missions. It really makes you wonder, isn't the most complex system we know of flowing inside you right now?